In America, there's a saying that if you're really good at something, no matter how strange it is, sooner or later someone will be willing to pay you for it. And no, this is not one of those motivational quotes printed on a t-shirt. This is real life, very American real life. In my hands is a career notebook that sounds like a prop from a comedy movie, but every single page inside it is real. 31 jobs, 31 professions that sound like they were made up at 2 a.m. after way too much coffee, and yet they're paying the bills for a lot of people. So if you've ever thought you chose the wrong career or that your life feels a little useless, relax. After this series of stories, you'll realize that careers don't really have limits. They just need one thing: customers. Story 1. The Rental Pet Hugger. The very first story in the notebook made me stop, blink, and then read it again just to be sure. A rental pet hugger. Not hugging for fun, not hugging as a favor, but hugging with a contract. In America, there are people who get paid to come to your house, sit down on your couch, and hug your dog or cat for an exact pre-booked amount of time. There's a schedule, there's a process, there's even a 5-star rating after the hug session. The reason is extremely American. Pet owners are busy, working 12-hour days, constantly traveling for work, and they worry their pets are emotionally neglected. Sounds easy enough, it's not. Not every animal cooperates. Some cats look at you like you're a new employee who already messed up. Some dogs demand hugs at the correct angle, the correct rhythm, and the correct premium service standard. And people in this job often say one very honest thing: I don't just hug pets, I help humans sleep better because they feel less guilty. Story 2. The Snake Therapist. If you think America has already invented every kind of therapy imaginable, congratulations. You haven't met the snake therapist yet. Yes, snakes. No legs, no facial expressions, and a permanent look that says I'm judging you. In the US, there are specialists hired to help owners emotionally connect with their pet snakes. The therapy session usually starts very seriously, not with the snake, but with the owner. They're worried the snake is sad, stressed, not acting like itself ever since the last shedding. The therapist teaches proper snake holding technique. Slow breathing, soft calming phrases like, "It's okay, you're safe." The snake just lies there, completely chill. Zero signs of emotional trauma. By the end of the session, the one who actually needed therapy was almost always the owner. The snake, it just wants to be fed on time. And that's when you realize, in America, therapy isn't always for the pet. Sometimes it's just for humans who need a socially acceptable reason to calm down. Story 3. The Rented Cringe Creator. In America, if a corporate training session ends and no one has broken into a nervous sweat, people assume it wasn't effective enough. And that's exactly why this job exists. The Rented Cringe Creator. These people are hired to walk into a meeting room and do everything wrong on purpose. They speak too loudly, interrupt the boss, ask questions that make the entire room go silent for 3 painfully long seconds. They even forget someone's name immediately after being introduced. The goal isn't sabotage. The goal is training employees to stay calm when things get aggressively awkward. It's like acting, but without a script, and the victims have absolutely no warning. To do this job, you need nerves of steel, the ability to read a room at lightning speed, and the emotional strength to accept that no one will like you for the entire session. The funniest part? When the training ends, everyone applauds. Not because you did a great job, but because finally, you stopped. Story 4. The Artistic Rock Stacker. There's a very American moment when you walk into a quiet retreat. Take a deep breath and see someone intensely stacking rocks. Not building a house, not fixing a road, just carefully placing one rock on top of another and hoping gravity cooperates. That's the job, the artistic rock stacker. These people believe that if you stack slowly enough, with enough focus, not only will the rocks find balance, life will too. They work in parks, meditation gardens, beaches, and anywhere people are willing to pay just to watch rocks. It sounds like a weekend hobby, but here's the twist. They're hired for weddings, corporate events, and team building sessions. While employees stress about KPIs and deadlines, there's someone nearby stacking rocks to gently remind everyone to stay balanced. And the most ironic part, these rock towers, which look like they could collapse at any second, are more stable than most office meetings. At least the rocks don't send emails at midnight. Story 5. The Dawn Worm Harvester. While most of America is still asleep dreaming about coffee, There are people already out the door before sunrise, armed with flashlights, rubber boots, and a very strong belief in mud. They are worm harvesters. This job starts at dawn when the ground is still damp and the worms haven't disappeared yet. Workers quietly walk across lawns, parks, and open fields, bending down to pick up worms like they're hunting for living treasure. It sounds miserable. But this is the main supply line for bait shops across the United States. Fishing is a passion, and that passion requires fresh worms. The funniest part, while everyone else is sleeping, you're making money from dirt. No emails, no Zoom meetings, just soil worms and a strangely satisfying feeling when the bucket fills up. Not everyone's dream job, but it's hard to look down on a career that literally turns mud into cash. Story 6. The human medical test subject. If you've ever seen an ad that says healthy volunteers needed, paid immediately, congratulations, you may have just spotted the front door to human medical testing. In America, these people are affectionately known as lab rats, with invoices. They sign up to test new medications from simple painkillers to substances that sound like sci-fi movie villains. In return, they get paid anywhere from a few hundred to several $1,000s depending on the risk level and the number of needles involved. Sounds terrifying. Here's the twist. Some people do this almost full-time. They move from one lab to another, know every liability waiver by heart, and can tell you exactly which trials to avoid. While most people stress about deadlines, these people stress about side effects with names longer than their apartment lease. Not everyone has the nerve for it. But in America, if there's risk involved, someone will absolutely figure out how to turn it into a career. Story 7. The Professional Mourner. In America, even sadness can be rented by the hour, and that's when the professional mourner steps in. They don't attend funerals to cry for someone they knew. They're there to make sure the atmosphere feels emotional enough. People in this job are trained to cry at the right moment with the right intensity. Not too dramatic, not too flat. They know when to gently wipe away a tear, when to sob just loudly enough to draw the room's attention, and when to stay silent to heighten the emotion. Basically, they're actors, except the stage has no lights and the audience is dressed in black. Crying off cue is a disaster. Crying too early throws off the rhythm. Crying too late and the job is basically gone. The funniest part, after the service ends, they wipe their face, put away the tissues, and return to normal within 5 minutes. Because in America, if emotions can be packaged, someone will professionalize them. Even tears. Story 8. The Golf Ball Diver. There are two kinds of people in America. One hits a golf ball into a lake and pretends nothing happened. The other dives into that lake and makes money off the mistake. They're golf ball divers. Every day these people suit up, jump into murky ponds next to golf courses where you can't even see your own hand, let alone the bottom. Down there are golf balls, thousands of them, along with turtles, water snakes, and occasionally last weekend's bad decisions. It sounds dangerous, and it is. But the pay is good enough to make a lot of people quit their office jobs. A skilled diver can recover thousands of balls a day and resell them to golf courses or secondhand shops. Here's the twist. While everyone else is stressed about emails and KPIs, these people only worry about one thing. Don't touch anything that bites back. Fewer meetings, more mud, and somehow some people say this is the freest job they've ever had. Story 9. The Professional Mermaid. If you think cosplay is just about dressing up and taking cute photos, the professional mermaid job in America will make you rethink that and swim back your opinion. These performers slip into silicone tails heavier than carry-on luggage, slide into the water, and turn an ordinary pool into a fairy tale. They perform at birthday parties, water parks, and even aquariums, swimming, posing, and smiling softly like their lungs came with backup units. This is not a game. This is high-level cardio. Here's the funny twist. Rule number 1 of the job is never panic. Not if your hair gets caught in a pool filter, not if your goggles shift, not if a child asks whether you're actually a real fish. You keep smiling, you glide gently, you breathe slowly. Because in America, once you're paid to be magic, there's no room for panic. Only training stamina and hair strong enough to survive a pool filter. Story 10. The Cheese Sculptor. In America, if there's a festival, there will be sausages. If the festival is big enough, there will be cheese. And if the festival is truly serious, there will be someone carving sculptures out of cheese. These artists don't work with stone, they don't work with clay, they work with cheddar Gouda and anything that can melt if you stare at it for too long. At agricultural fairs and major events, they carve presidents' dairy cows or entire farm scenes all made from curds. It sounds artistic and very fragrant, but rule number one of the job is simple. Do not eat the artwork. No matter how tempting the smell is, no matter how hungry you are, it's still art, slightly soft art. The hardest part isn't shaping the sculpture. It's stopping the audience from getting too close with the eyes of someone who skipped lunch. In America, some artworks aren't protected from theft. They're protected from rumbling stomachs drawn to cheese. Story 11. The Cardboard Tube Tester. There are people who go to work every day with one very clear mission: to break things, legally, and get paid for it. They are cardboard tube testers. Those sturdy paper tubes used to ship posters, blueprints, or framed prints don't become durable by accident. Before they ever reach you, they've been bent, smashed, twisted, and abused by people hired to find out exactly when they finally give up. Their job is to squeeze throw step on and sometimes unload an entire bad day onto an innocent cardboard tube. It sounds like rage therapy, and honestly it kind of is. The only difference is there's a technical report afterward. They record the exact force that causes dents the moment it tears and how long it takes to completely fail. So the next time you receive a perfectly intact tube, remember this: somewhere in America, someone destroyed hundreds of others so you wouldn't have to worry. That's destruction for the greater good. Story 12. The Professional Background Actor. In Hollywood, there's a very specific level of fame. You appear on screen, but no one recognizes you. That's the professional background actor. They're the people walking behind the main character holding a coffee cup, nodding, pretending to talk, and absolutely never looking directly at the camera. The job sounds simple, the reality is not. A workday usually starts at 5 in the morning. Then comes the waiting intense, waiting under the sun. Waiting because the lighting isn't right, waiting because the lead actor isn't ready. 12 hours go by, and the reward is 2 blurry seconds behind someone's shoulder. Here's the twist. Those 2 seconds are enough to make many people come back the next day. Because in Hollywood, hope is a very powerful fuel. And who knows, next time that blurry figure might stand half a step closer to the camera. Story 13. The Bearded Dragon Trainer. In America, if someone says they're a trainer, you usually think of the gym football or dogs, but no. Some people wake up every morning to teach lizards how to wave hello. Yes, lizards, not Pokemon, real reptiles with faces that always look like they're silently judging you. Bearded dragons are popular exotic pets because they look cool, are gentle, and show almost no emotion, basically perfect for introverts. The trainer's job is to teach them simple tricks: staying still, climbing onto a hand, and the peak of the career lifting a leg like they're saying hello. The problem is, lizards have no concept of obedience. They only perform when they feel like it. If they don't, you can stand there for 20 minutes while the lizard looks at you like, "Who are you? Why are you still here?" The pay isn't great, there's no fame. But the feeling of a lizard waving at you, no one at the gym gets that. Story 14. The Fireworks Designer. When you watch fireworks, you see romance, light, color, a synchronized wow from the crowd like it was rehearsed. But for a fireworks designer, what they see isn't emotion. It's math counting down to an explosion. This job is a mix of art science and the quiet thought of, did I definitely read that formula right? Every firework is calculated in numbers. How much explosive, how high it goes, how many seconds before it bursts, how many degrees the wind might push it off course. Miss it by just a little and the show can shift from beautiful to someone call the fire department. It sounds dangerous, and it is. But the biggest pressure is actually the audience. If the fireworks are average, they say, "Yeah, that was fine." If the fireworks are too spectacular, they ask, "Wait, was that part of the plan?" This job proves a very American truth. You can get paid to blow things up as long as they explode exactly on cue. Story 15. The Movie Theater Popcorn Butterer. At the movie theater, you think the real star is the actor on the screen. Wrong. The person who truly decides your emotional experience is the popcorn bitterer. Too little butter and even a great movie feels bland. Too much butter and you forget the plot entirely while wondering, why are my hands this slippery? This is an underrated art form. A good popcorn bitterer doesn't follow a formula, they read the audience. Horror movie, moderate butter, so you can still grip the popcorn while trembling. Romance movie, a little extra butter because tears and butter somehow fit the vibe. Superhero movie. The butter has to be bold enough that you don't miss the post-credit scene because you're busy licking your fingers. They stand there listening to hundreds of requests every night. More butter, more, and finally the philosophical closer, okay, that's probably enough. This job teaches a very real lesson. No one remembers who you are, but everyone remembers whether the popcorn had enough butter. Story 16. The pet food taster. When someone says they are a food taster, you imagine Michelin star restaurants, warm lighting, and a chef frowning thoughtfully. But no, some people wear white lab coats, hold a spoon, and prepare to taste dog and cat food. Certified very serious. The pet industry in America is so massive that pets sometimes eat healthier than their owners. No artificial colors, no excess salt, no sugar, and to make sure that is true, someone has to taste it first. That is the job. They evaluate aroma, fat, content, dryness, and aftertaste, just like fine dining. The only difference is the package has a smiling dog on it, looking extremely confident. Here's the twist you are not allowed to say. This tastes bad, you have to say it professionally. The texture is slightly powdery. The liver note arrives too early, the finish is not human-friendly, the pay is decent, the job is stable. But when you go out to eat with friends, there is one question you cannot escape. So you eat dog food for a living, right? Story 17. The trash can cleaner. No one grows up dreaming, I want to clean other people's trash cans, but in America, some people do exactly that and live just fine. It sounds like a low-level service, but the demand is surprisingly high because no one wants to open a trash can in summer and get hit by a smell that unlocks childhood trauma. So they call the odor heroes, people who arrive with specialized trucks, high-pressure water industrial deodorizer, and nerves of steel. The job is very simple, however dirty your trash can is. They clean it until you could, in theory, see your reflection. You should not, but you could. They know exactly which smell is normal household trash, which smell is a weekend party that went too far, and which smell should not be discussed further. No one applauds. No one takes photos, but because of them, the neighborhood no longer smells like biological warfare. Real heroes usually stand very close to trash cans. Story 18. The spider catcher. In America, there is a very national level fear spiders. They do not have to be big. They do not have to be venomous. If one stands still in the corner of a room, a grown adult will call for help like it is a disaster movie. And that is how the spider catcher job was born. The job sounds simple, enter the house, catch the spider, leave. But here is the twist, you are not allowed to kill it. You have to be brave like a superhero and gentle like a kindergarten teacher. The mission is to escort the spider outside safely while the homeowner stands 10 meters away, pointing with shaking hands and yelling, "It is looking at me." A good spider catcher also does emotional support. They say calming things like, "It is harmless, it is more scared of you than you are of it." Even though everyone involved knows, no one actually believes that. The pay is not great, there is no title, but walking out of the house with a spider under a cup feels like you saved a life and someone else's entire evening, an American-style hero just fighting battles with a plastic cup. Story 19. The Game Gold Farmer. When people hear play games for money, they imagine a gaming chair, a fancy headset clicking a mouse and smiling. But the reality of a gold farmer looks much more like manual labor in digital form. These are people who log into games every day, not to relax but to work. They repeat the same task over and over, kill the same monster, loot the same item. Hundreds of times, thousands of times. No story, no excitement, just a mouse, a keyboard, and the sound of your brain slowly leaving your body. Here is the twist. Your body sits still, but your mind feels like it just carried bricks all day. Neck pain, eye strain, numb hands, and when the game updates, all that effort can disappear with a single patch. No fans, no glory, just a real-world price list for virtual gold. This job proves a very modern truth. Some people go to work inside a virtual world, but the exhaustion is 100% real. Story 20. The Sand Sculptor. Most people go to the beach to relax. Sand sculptors go to the beach to fight nature. While the waves, the wind, and random children running past all share one mission to destroy everything you just built. This is temporary art in the purest form. You spend hours, sometimes days, building a beautiful sand castle, knowing one thing for sure, it will disappear. Maybe because of the tide, maybe because of rain, Or maybe because someone walks by very casually and asks, "Can my kid take a photo with it?" This job requires technique, patience, and an extremely high ability to let go. Because when the sculpture collapses, you are not allowed to cry. You just nod, take a deep breath, and start building again. The philosophy of this job is painfully real. Some things are not made to last forever. They are made to be beautiful while they exist. And sometimes that is enough. Story 21. The comic book colorist. When you read a comic, you remember the characters. You remember the dialogue. You remember the epic fight scenes. But almost no one remembers the person who decides the mood of the entire page, the colorist. This is the job of silent artists. They don't draw the lines, they don't sign their names in bold. But just by changing a single tone, the entire story can change its mood. A blue sky turns gray. Suddenly it's a tragedy. More red and danger is immediately felt. Color here isn't just for beauty. It's used to tell a story with emotion. Here's the twist. If the coloring is done well, no one praises it. If it's done poorly, everyone notices. You're not meant to stand out. You're meant to be right. They work for hours in front of screens, adjusting every shade so finely that readers will never notice. And that's the peak of the job, when the emotion you create is so powerful that no one even realizes you created it. Story 22. The living statue street performer. When you walk through a busy street, sometimes you'll see a living statue, standing still motionless like a real statue, but if you look closely, you'll see it's a person getting paid to do nothing. Sounds easy, right? But this is a job that requires extraordinary patience. Every day, this person must stand still for hours while everyone stares, sometimes even shoving a phone in their face to take pictures. They're not allowed to move, not allowed to smile, and absolutely not allowed to yawn. Here's the twist. Even though they're doing nothing, they still get paid, and while very few people understand that this is a real profession, they persist still standing just like ancient statues. The pay isn't great, but the feeling of standing there knowing the whole world is watching you and can't do anything, it's worth it. Story 23. Underwater pizza delivery. Have you ever imagined delivering pizza? Yes, but not on the street underwater. This is a job that not everyone dares to try because you don't just have to deliver to the right address, you also have to battle waves and sea foam. Your workplace, an underwater resort, or a floating house, beautiful scenery. But the biggest challenge is the tomato sauce. Trying not to let the seawater ruin the pizza box, and most importantly, keeping the tomato sauce from spilling out while swimming. It sounds like an adventure, but the reality is you have to work underwater carrying the pizza in a waterproof bag and face one major limitation. You can't quickly hand the pizza to the customer without getting wet. But actually, there's something fun about this job. You deliver food, but you get delivered to by fish. As long as you don't let the fish eat the pizza, everything will be fine. Story 24. Pet bodyguard for the rich. Yes, in some places, bodyguards don't just protect people, they protect pets. And when it comes to the pets of the wealthy, you can imagine they're guarded like tiny CEOs. The job, a bodyguard for rich pets. It might sound funny, but the reality is there are families so rich you wouldn't believe it. They hire people just to protect their dog. That dog might wear a gold leash, walk in real leather shoes, and have its own room just for sleeping. And then there's you, the dedicated bodyguard, making sure no one dares to come near or take photos with their pet. It's not just about fending off paparazzi, but you also have to know how to walk the dog without risking a kidnapping. The pay is decent, the job is definitely unique, but at least you'll know you're protecting humanity's best friend if it's not too busy eating caviar. Story 25. The skyscraper window cleaner. If you think your job is stressful, imagine being a window cleaner on a skyscraper. No flat floors, no safety nets. Just you, a sheet of glass, and a height that makes your heart want to leap out of your chest. Standing on a ladder or a rope, you don't just have to clean the glass, you have to face the adrenaline rush every time you slip up a little and everything starts to sway. Whether the wind is strong or not, the job must get done clean, every smudge on the towering windows. While beneath you, the city looks like a tiny ant colony. The pay might not be bad, but it doesn't compare to the anxiety every time you look down from that height. This job teaches you an important lesson. It's not fear that makes you fall, it's when you forget to clean the glass. Story 26. The professional ice cream taster. Have you ever dreamed of a job where you can eat sweets all day without worrying about gaining weight? Then being a professional ice cream taster might be the job for you. Except you can't eat too much. Yes, this job combines food science with satisfying your taste buds, but you don't just eat ice cream because you enjoy it. Your job is to evaluate the creaminess, sweetness, texture, and flavor of ice cream all through a single spoonful. You must use delicate skills to identify every flavor note in each ice cream from matcha to strawberry. The problem is you can't eat as much ice cream as you want. Even though you're a tasting expert, you still have to follow the rule of not eating too much. Because if you do, you won't be able to tell which ice cream tastes best. In fact, you only get to eat one spoonful, then hit the gym afterward. The pay isn't bad, but this job also teaches you an important lesson. The less you eat, the easier it is to savor. Story 27. The Bloodstain Analyst. When you watch crime dramas, you often see scenes of bloodstain analysis with advanced machines and experts in lab coats. But being a bloodstain analyst isn't just a movie, it's a real job, and behind every bloodstain could be an untold story. This job requires you to understand math and physics because how blood splatters and disperses can reveal a lot. You have to analyze bloodstains at a crime scene, determine the direction, speed, and even the position of the victim throughout the incident. Your world is filled with tiny blood droplets, and if you decode them correctly, you could help save lives and solve a case. This is no simple job because you don't just look at blood and guess. Mathematics is the tool that helps you connect the pieces, and sometimes it's the math that saves lives during an investigation. This job is for those who not only love science but also understand that every bloodstain carries a full story if you know how to read it. Story 28. The Pogo Stick Athlete. Sports make people sweat, pant, and sometimes get injured, but being a pogo stick athlete takes it to the next level. You don't just need good health, you also need the courage to overcome the feeling of being a child jumping on a giant spring. A pogo stick isn't just a fun park toy, it's a professional sport with competitions where athletes jump up and down on this bulky spring. You have to glide over obstacles, perform artistic jumps, and nearly fall every time. Injuries in this sport aren't quirky at all. You'll feel like a kid playing, but your body will endure painful falls that only adult athletes truly understand. The prize money isn't huge, but if you love jumping up and down, not knowing when you'll fall, this job is for you. Pogo stick a sport for kids, but painful like an adult. Story 29. The Gumologist, Chewing Gum Scientist. Have you ever wondered who's behind the invention of new colorful chewing gums with enticing flavors? That's the gemologist, or the chewing gum researcher. This job sounds fun, but in reality, it requires patience and intellect just like any real scientist. A gemologist's job isn't just about tasting different gums, it's about researching and developing products that can change the taste and texture of gum with every second. They have to calculate every factor: crispness, chewiness, flavor, longevity, because flavor is measured in seconds. A small change in the formula can completely alter the gum experience. Although you might find yourself chewing gum all day, in reality you're not just enjoying it, you're doing food science. And the interesting part is when the gum loses its flavor, that's when your job begins. The pay isn't huge, but if you love sweet flavors and want to change the world 1 second at a time, the gemologist job is the place for you to get creative. Story 30. The Professional Apologist for Companies. You might think PR is all about good promotion, but there's a special job, the professional apologizer for companies. These are experts in reverse PR, meaning when a company messes up, they step in and do everything they can to offer a professional apology. Your job is to use all your psychological and communication skills to make customers feel at ease. Why? Because the company can't apologize on its own and still maintain a good image, so they hire you, the expert in the art of apology. You have to convince customers that they're not just accepting an apology, but that they are understanding and willing to move forward together. This job isn't just about saying simple things like sorry, it's the art of turning an apology into a promise. And if you do it well, you can turn a crisis into an opportunity to build trust. The pay is pretty good, but this job also teaches you an important lesson. It's not about making mistakes, it's about how you apologize. Story 31. The Professional Line Stander. You might never think that your job is standing in line, but the professional line stander is a real job. When hot events, big sales, or product launches happen, not everyone has the time or patience to wait. And that's when you come in. You take on the task of waiting, not because you enjoy it, but because someone is willing to pay you to do it for them. This job requires extreme patience because you have to stand for hours sometimes without a chance to sit down. You won't just wait in long lines for the newest phone, but also face people around you who may be unhappy because of delays or exhaustion. You'll also have to deal with the frustration of those in line with you and sometimes uncomfortable questions from them. Your time is incredibly valuable, and you're the one who truly proves the saying, time is money, especially when you're doing this job. The American dream has always been a symbol of freedom, opportunity, and success. But over time, that dream has evolved, no longer just a picture of a stable job and home ownership. The American dream has transformed, existing now in strange and creative professions that we never thought possible. From apologizing on behalf of companies to standing in line for others, these are new opportunities that show in this society nothing is impossible. The American dream hasn't disappeared, it's simply changed its form to adapt to the modern world. Those who dare to dream and take action will find opportunities in any field.